Okay, so Joe Rogan and Donald Trump's podcast has officially broken the internet, as we all knew that it would. Look, it was a really entertaining podcast. It went for 3 hours. The stamina of this guy, I cannot get over it. He's 78 years old. He had a press conference in the morning. He had Joe Rogan for 3 hours in Texas during the day. And then he had a rally in Michigan that he had to jump over on his private jet and go to Michigan for this rally at night. How does one person do this? I am so envious of his stamina. I mean, I'm more than half of his age and I couldn't do that. And as he said in the interview, Kamala Harris would be comatose, which I totally understand. I'm no Kamala fan, but I would be comatose too. This guy is just an energy bunny. He has so much energy and enthusiasm and passion, and I really hope he can pull this off, because as if we don't want a guy with that much energy running the United States. He doesn't sleep. He can get what all of us can get done in a week in a single day. I'm so impressed with him. Anyway, I'm going to get straight into it. I'm going to show you my favorite bits. I've got about 5 clips that are my favorite that I've cut up. And so if you haven't watched the podcast or listened to it, then this is a really good summary. Look, it was entertaining, but he also got into the meaty bits. He spoke about policy, which we all know Kamala hasn't. And just a really good overview of different subjects, really wide-ranging. They spoke about everything. It was fun. It was serious. It really had everything. So let's get into it. My first favorite bit was, as I just spoke about, when Donald Trump took a dig at Kamala Harris, saying that she could not do this Joe Rogan interview, and which is probably why she hasn't accepted the invitation yet. Joe Rogan said that she still may do it, but I am skeptical of that. She can't even get through a 10-minute radio interview or TV interview without a script or someone talking into her ear. So let's see, but I genuinely think it would not be possible for her to do a 3-hour non-scripted podcast. This is the clip.
Can you imagine Kamala doing this show?
I could imagine her doing this show.
She'd be laying on the floor.
She was supposed to do it, and she might still do it, and I hope she does.
She's not going to do it.
I will talk to her like a human being. I would try to have a conversation with her.
If she did this kind of an interview with you, I hope she does, because it would be a mess. She'd be laying on the floor comatose. You'd be saying, call in the medics.
I think we'd have a fine conversation.
My second favorite clip is when they were talking about Kamala Harris's bizarre obsession with transgender people and, allowing prisoners to have sex change operations, and now apparently allowing immigrants to have sex change operations. Just obsessed.
To get to know her. But she was to fund the police. She was all these transgender operations. If you wanted a sex change and you were in detention and you demanded a sex change, they would give you a sex change.
Well, the wildest one is this idea of giving free sex change to illegal immigrants.
That's right. In detention.
That is the wildest thing. Is that the biggest problem you have? Yeah. You just walked here from Guatemala. You need to become a girl?
But she was in favor of it.
Yes.
So think of it. She changed 15 policies. In fact, I'm going to send her a MAGA cap.
She stole your idea about no tax for tip.
And the whole podcast wasn't about taking digs at Kamala. They also spoke about some meaty policy issues. So apparently, which I didn't know, Donald Trump just revealed that he is going to remove income tax and replace it with tariffs, which I don't know about Americans, but I would love that as a tax-paying citizen.
Did you just float out the idea of getting rid of income taxes and replacing it with tariffs?
Well, okay.
Were you serious about that?
Yeah, sure. But why not? Because ready? Our country was the richest relatively in the 1880s and 1890s. A president who was assassinated named McKinley. He was the tariff king. He spoke beautifully of tariffs. His language was really beautiful. We will not allow the enemy to come in and take our jobs and take our factories and take our workers and take our families unless they pay a big price. And the big price is tariffs. And he'd speak like that, but he was right. And then around in the early 1900s, they switched over stupidly to, frankly, an income tax. And you know why? Because countries were putting a lot of pressure on America. We don't want to pay tariffs. Please don't. You know, believe me, they control our politicians. If you look at the kind of numbers that these guys make then and now, but we had a commission meeting in the, I think it was 1887. Think of this problem. We were so rich. We had so much money. We didn't know what to do. So they set up a blue ribbon commission on tariffs. And the sole purpose is what to do with all the money we had. We were so rich because we were taxing other people for coming in and taking our jobs.
And my absolute favorite part of the whole podcast was just a really tiny clip. I've spoken about this for a long time, and it's a concept that I find so fascinating. It's the fact that conservatives are now the rebels. And Joe Rogan spoke about this. Remember in the 60s when rebels were those hippies, the free love people who stuck their finger up at authority? Well, it seems like we've done a complete 180 at the moment in our society, and those free love people are now the conservatives. Strange, right? So they're obedient, they're law-abiding citizens who drink the Kool-Aid, they believe whatever they're fed by the government. Just look at COVID. They're the ones who vote Democrats. It's very strange. The shift is so fascinating to me, and it has everything to do with the powers that be trying to control us. And it's the left that are really into this for some reason. And I know why. It's because they're lazy. They like to be controlled because it means they don't have to think for themselves or they don't have to ask questions. Conservatives, on the other hand, I tend to think are a bit smarter. They like freedom. They like the opportunity to be successful, to be innovative, and create a better lives for themselves and their families. And constant government intervention really stifles that. So they have gone against the grain. They don't like the government, especially a government that tries to impose rules on us constantly. And they want to vote for people like Donald Trump, who are going to take away those really suffocating rules.
The rebels are Republicans now. They're like, you want to be a rebel, you want to be punk rock, you want to buck the system, you're a conservative now. That's how crazy. And then the liberals are now pro silencing criticism. They're pro censorship online. They're talking about regulating free speech and they're regulating the First Amendment. It's bananas to watch.
Joe, they come after their political opponent.
Well, they
I
do.
got more guys. I always say, I kid, but I'm not kidding. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the meanest of them all. He'd kill you in 2 seconds if he didn't like you, right? I've been under investigation more than Alphonse Capone, only because it's political opponent stuff. And I've won. I won the big case in Florida. I'm winning the other stuff. You win, but you know what they did? They did something that's only done in third world countries. They came after their political opponent.
Yes.
I could have put crooked Hillary in jail.
Well, not only that, but they're weaponizing it by saying that that's what you're going to do once you get in office.
Isn't it great?
By ignoring what they're doing right now.
Oh, and let's not forget about Kamala. So while Trump was having this 3-hour podcast with Joe Rogan, Kamala was having a massive rally. I'll give her that. There are about 30,000 people there in Houston, Texas. But she struggled to wrangle the crowd because a lot of people there seemed to be booing her. Strange, seeing as it was a Democrat rally. But she really struggled over the boos, over the loud noise. It was a bit of a mess. Take a look.